Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Matt Lateplo, and on behalf of OTC Markets as well as our co-host, Social Suite, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Outcrop Silver and Gold Corp, a company focused on its silver project in the Santa Ana mine in Colombia. Please note you can submit questions in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Ian Harris, President, CEO, and Director of Outcrop Silver and Gold Corp, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol OCGSF and on the TSXV under the symbol OCG. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. As I might be a new face for some of you, I have been CEO of Outcrop Silver since July 15th of this year, so just a couple of weeks in. And so I figure a little bit of an introduction on myself. I am a mining engineer. I've worked 25 years in the industry, and 15 of those years are working and living in South America. Outcrop is not a story that I'm unfamiliar with. I've been very close to the team in the ground. I've been visiting Colombia for the last 7 years and living in Colombia for the last 2 years. So very well versed in the project itself, and I guess a little bit more on my background and why I've come in to Outcrop. Joe has spent over a decade advancing these projects and getting them to a very important milestone that we'll touch on the very next slide of doing the discovery and developing the concept of a primary silver corridor in Colombia. In a previous life, for example, I was senior vice president and country manager for Corriente Resources and took that project all the way through the start of construction and sale. And it went on to be the first industrial scale mine in the history of Ecuador. Not that Outcrop will be building a mine tomorrow, but now is the time to begin strategically advancing, expanding at a resource and start looking at de-risking a project in terms of what is interesting for some of the mid-tier and majors. And that's kind of my background, taking things on through those stages of resource expansion and getting into the engineering and de-risking on an environmental and technical background. So to start, obviously, lots of forward-looking statements and recommend everybody does their own due diligence. But as I alluded to, Outcrop has recently hit a very, very important milestone, putting out the first maiden resource for the Santa Ana project, which is the flagship. It's one of the highest grade primary silver projects in the world, and contains about 37 million ounces of silver, and the majority of those are in the indicated category. I'll go on to why that is so important. But again, it is a primary silver resource, with 75% of the value is in silver, the remaining in gold. And to start off and alluding to why it was so important to get so much material, even at this early stage, into the indicated category, is especially because of its high grade nature. And we wanted to prove out a theory, that the theory is that the entire corridor has a huge potential due to the makeup of multiple vein systems and ore shoots. The initial resource was only based on 7 of those veins, and it's not like any individual vein was contributing a huge percentage of that resource, which was also important, demonstrating each one of these targets can attribute considerable ounces to the overall resource. As you can see on the pie graph, not a single vein was contributing the majority of those ounces. Every single one that we're drilling on, and depending on the amount of drilling, is contributing significant ounces to the resource, which bodes very well for the future of the company. So the next is why so much drilling to get everything into the indicated category. And the big reason was to demonstrate that this isn't just a nugget effect. This isn't just a couple of spectacular holes being smeared across a vein system. To demonstrate the grade carries and holds and is demonstrated across strike and at depth. And to prove that thesis, that this is something that is real, and this is something that is mineable, with mineralization starting at surface and continuing along depth and carrying grade, again over strike and at depth. So the other big piece that was really important and a very important takeaway was the most recent metallurgical work done and associated to doing that maiden resource, is that the majority of the silver is actually in as a silver sulfide. And that might not mean much to very many people, but sulfides are associated with flotation. And that's what was another huge de-risking check mark for the project, is incredible recoveries based on flotation alone. So just flotation at a medium grind size, also 140 mesh is not a fine grind. We're receiving recoveries of 93% in silver and 97% in gold. And on top of that, demonstrating the ability to produce a high grade concentrate. Many don't know, but a disadvantage of flotation is many times you don't get a very good payable if you don't have a very high concentrate grade. But this is the types of grades that actually provide a premium, and can be just as, say, it's very similar returns to even doré. So this is really good news, the ability to have these types of recoveries from flotation alone without the need for cyanide leaching, for example. And this is just the beginning. Obviously, there's more work to be done. We need to look at heavy media separation combined with flotation. And we will look also at leachable recoveries, but it's a really good point to start. You're really, at this time, just polishing something that is already looking very, very, very attractive from a technical and an environmental standpoint. So where do we go from here? As you can see in the map on the slide, the veins that contributed and the ore shoots that contributed to that initial mineral resources are identified in red. And so it was very important to demonstrate that every time that we're drilling out one of these veins is contributing significant amount of ounces to the project. And then on top of that, we still have over 20 targets of mapped veins that have been sampled, either channel sampling or chip sampling, or even underground, some old workings, channel samplings that demonstrate the ability to hold very similar grades. So now the time and the direction of the company now is, okay, we've proven to the world that this holds together as a resource. It has the potential to be mineable. It carries the widths that are much wider than even some of the projects I've worked on and mined in Colombia, is now to demonstrate the concept of the corridor. So you can just even see from the map alone that we've only really touched a very small percentage of the entire project, and we're already at over 39 million ounces. We're already put into a category as one of the premier primary silver projects in the world. It's a very small group that can have these types of grades and these sizes of resources. And so now we can systematically approach the advancement as we drive south to continue to hit some very key milestones as we add significant ounces to the project. And we are doing that today. So as an investor, I think it's great news that we're currently into a 5,000 meter drill program. We've just started. I think we're about 500 meters into the project so far. And we're focusing on driving that strategy I just described. It's about looking at, for example, the Alaska vein, which we had some drilling into, but not enough to be included into the resource. And also focusing on areas where we have great samples back, and now it's time to drill test. So we're going to be systematically testing these targets, adding the resources, adding the drilling, and focusing mostly on the inferred category now that we have the geostatistics to prove that that these grades carry and can be carried into a future resource. The last area we're really excited about too is Estrella. Because it carries a very large stockwork of over 4 meters thick. So We're very excited. We're currently financed to execute this drilling program. We're going to be putting out drill results, those types of drill results with the numbers that really get market excited to see those. We're not talking grams per ton sometimes, but kilograms per ton of silver. They really grabs market attention and continue to deliver on this. And we have a very high, confidence in our ability to demonstrate, because the previous veins have carried every single one, and so we expect the same type of results to be able to continue to demonstrate the market that this is only the beginning of the project. I think that's one of the difficult parts about putting out a mineral resource. Is many times market thinks, oh, the project's done, put a pin in it, that's what all the resource that exists. Maybe it will grow a little bit, add a little bit here, add a bit there, but this is a project that will continue to grow. Has the capacity to double or triple or quadruple the amount of ounces that are in the ground, because we have the targets to be able to add to it. And then the other thing, and working and living in Colombia, and lots of experience in South America, understanding jurisdictions. One of the exciting parts about Outcrop is that it's in the historical mining districts of Colombia, and has active historical mining and active mining. For example, right directly to our south is an active operating mine called Provenir. But we're in that area where there's a mining history, very supportive provinces for mining, that shows the viability of getting this type of project in the future into production. So in summary, again, Outcrop has already demonstrated it's one of the top of class primary silver projects that puts out the type of numbers, that puts it in a different category, but also keeps market attention, which I think is very important in the midterm. We continue to demonstrate that we have a world-class district that is comparable to some of the best silver districts in the world, and we have a team to execute on that. Before I hit on the team, this is our first resource, and as a mining engineer, I want to make everybody understand that even our grades at Santa Ana include a 30% internal dilution, based on the minimum mining width that was put into it, which I think is highly conservative. And even with those numbers, it demonstrates that it's one of the highest grade deposits in the world, right? Which is, many people here, grade is king in these types of projects. And so this is a critical component of why Outcrop is such a special, and Santa Ana is such a special project. And at the same time, this is provided to us by Resource Capital, that when you put us into this block, and it's a very small block of projects, undeveloped projects, there's our producers, that we're very much undervalued compared to our peers in terms of our total resource size or our indicated resource size, very much at a significant discount, and therefore making it a huge opportunity for investors, especially that we have the ability, we're financed, we're drilling, and we're going to be continuing to put out drill results, and then the ability to hit some very key milestones. So alluding to that, the silver market as a whole, the majority of players, primary players, had a very nice run last year. We pulled off of that for a little bit, but still overall over the last year, we're up 40% on the year. And I do believe that this is obviously an incredible entry point for many investors, because what I demonstrated, we're in a cycle. The cycle has always come back, and we have a clear ability to put out significant news flow to create value for our shareholders, and continue to demonstrate the viability of this project. So about team, I basically described myself and talked about my background and my experience in working in South America and living in South America. I'm fluent in Spanish, but also with me, for example, Guillermo, who has a very rich experience working in silver districts throughout the world. And I remember the day he came on board. I did meet him in Colombia. I got the chance to meet him and remember the dramatic difference in the success in hitting targets. He is absolutely amazing in understanding the structure and the controls of these types of projects, and the ability to hit targets as we need them. And obviously, a native Spanish speaker, he's a huge wealth. And the other thing that I really enjoy, and one of the reasons why I joined Outcrop and I've seen and ability to watch, is their very high focus on creating real relationships. I'll be honest, I don't like calling it ESG because ESG is about reporting, and really more important to me is the relationships that are being created on the ground. That is what I learned in Ecuador and also Venezuela and in Bolivia and in Chile and in Peru and in Argentina. Right? What really carries projects and be able to get them to become future mines are the relationships on the ground. Presidencies change, but relationships locally are built over many, many, many years. So focusing locally is critical. Outcrop has done an amazing job, and that's only going to be reinforced with me making sure that we maximize benefits, employment opportunities, grow together with our local communities, become part of our local communities where these projects become their projects also, is what really carries projects through, and really proud of what the team has been doing on the ground, and creating those very strong relationships and support for the project. So in summary, again, the company, I guess, before I do that, sorry. Obviously, the Santa Ana project is not the only one. We also have three additional projects in Colombia, which are very compelling. We're seeing an increased M&A noise going on right now in Colombia. We think that people are taking opportunities as some of the majors are focusing outside of Colombia, that there's some extremely undervalued opportunities in Colombia. I think they're right. I lived through many of these political changes within countries and seen this story before, where there becomes, in a very near term, a huge necessity for mining to drive economies. And where I think we're right at that pivot point right now in Colombia, despite the fact, and I think it's also difficult, and so I'll take some time to speak a little bit about Colombia really quickly. We have a president that maybe hasn't been nice to oil and coal, and maybe even neutral on gold, but he's been very emphatic on the importance of strategic metals, the importance that he wants the energy transition and industries based upon that to drive the future economy of Colombia. So that Outcrop is a primary silver producer, has obviously voted very well in conversations with government, the importance of these types of projects advancing within Colombia to become part of that push for industrialization. And I think over time, that's only going to get stronger as there's some reflection done on the economy and looking for those key drivers. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing that M&A noise going on right now in Colombia. People are seeing that opportunity. They're seeing the writing on the wall. They're being a little contrarian and know that this is at the point of turning. But just on Santa Ana alone, in summary, we are drilling. We're going to be putting out incredible drill results. We're going to be putting out drill results that have the potential to again grab market attention in some of these higher grade zones. We'll be continuing. We already have 20 vein systems identified and mapped and sampled. We'll be continuing that mapping. We'll be continuing that sampling. We'll be continuing to create new targets. And as we move along and hit some of these key milestones, especially in terms of total ounces in resource, will be the ability to update that resource to demonstrate to market this is continuing to grow. And I think the other thing that's very important, we have the ability to scale. Right now we have a single drill going, but markets can change overnight, and we can scale the speed of our projects because we can create value at the drill bit. And again, as I mentioned, the ability to continue to update our resource and demonstrate our strategy to market. So I'm very excited. We have the team in place. We have a strategy in place. We have at least the financing in place to continue this drill program we have in place and be able to execute and create that news flow that creates significant value for our shareholders. And that's it for now. So I'm very happy to open up to any sort of question. Okay. So looking at some of the questions, and give me a second here. Are there any plans or progress for the other two projects, Argelia and Mayama, in the next 12 months? Can we expect anything from these two projects in the future? Our current strategy is we are continuing to create those relationships on the ground, making sure that there's a social license associated if at any time we want to advance those two projects. If you ask me today, we do not have any current plans to be drilling on any of those targets today because I don't think it's the time and market to do it. However, if market changes, right, it's obviously a huge opportunity to be able to access those projects and do some drilling on them. Again, I know that we can create value at Santa Ana, and we will continue to create value at Santa Ana when I think the overall strategy and understanding of the project that it will only continue to grow will create significant value. But markets have a tendency to change sometimes within a week, and that could change that strategy. What is the history of the Santa Ana mine? Okay, so Santa Ana mine isn't the only mine in that area. There's actually multiple historical mines that are in that district. None of them got to very, very deep. Most of them were mined, I believe, in the early 1900s. I don't have the exact details, but I look forward to telling the history in more detail in the future. Do you have a projected all-in sustaining cost for Santa Ana? No, we do not on to be able to produce a resource or anything that's 43-101 releasable. So it would be irresponsible for me to tell you any sort of fixed number that we do have. However, I can tell you that based on experience working in multiple mines in Colombia, some of them down to 30 centimeters in width, and these types of grades are mineable down to 30 centimeters. There's knowledge and experience in Colombia to do such. But even at 30 centimeters, it's very common to have probably $1,000 per gold equivalent ounce. So on a silver, I won't try and do that math, but call it $125 a silver ounce is probably the high end, even using these types of mining methods. Colombia has a huge advantage in terms of mining veins, is that it has a huge experience doing that, and it has a reasonable labor cost. Okay. Our capital position. I think we're right today. We have about $4 million Canadian in the bank, which is sufficient to cover this overall drill program and cover all G&A, both locally and corporately. But obviously, we'll be looking and reevaluating our financing needs probably around the September time period. We do have a at the market in place that gives us some flexibility, whether it's news based or whether it's market based, on when is the best timing to be able to do our financings for our next drilling phases. I think I kind of repeated that one's already done. No, many are asking about the other projects. Okay. So I think that is all the questions, and unless I missed one, if I do, I apologize, but I think we'll get them in writing and we'll be able to get back to you. So in summary, I think it's just really important to state, very excited This is definitely my sweet spot on after a discovery's been made, a resource is out, to be able to execute systematically on a strategy. We have a wonderful team in place. I know everybody personally on the team. I've been to the project previously and know the project intimately. I think we're in the right jurisdiction. We have the financing to be able to put out our drill results and continue this drill program. We'll continue to get market attention. And when market starts turning, we're already a part of that group that's getting attention, and we'll be able to create significant value in the very short term.